So these are some important laws that you must know and which will help you in your everyday life. Now, the first and the foremost is that nobody can arrest a female before sunset, and before sunrise and after sunset. So, which means ideally between 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Now, that doesn't mean that a female might, murder somebody and they'll not arrest her. ऐसा नहीं है. So also depends on how grave the crime is that the person has committed. But largely, for smaller things or for very trivial issues, they will not arrest you if you are a female, and they cannot legally do it. If they try to do it, you can absolutely tell them that, hey, I am not going to come to the police station. If you want to arrest me, maybe you can house arrest me in my place, and then after 6 a.m. tomorrow morning you can take me along with you. We can do that. And they must always have a female constable or a female police officer when they're trying to arrest you, when they're trying to arrest a female. So that's one. Number two, if you like alcohol or hard drinks, and if you're driving, then for every 100 ml of your blood, if it contains more than 30 mg of alcohol, then the police can also arrest you without warrant. In cities like Chandigarh and Delhi, they ideally prefer impounding the vehicle and letting the driver go, but they can also arrest you. So that's second. So you must know that if you want to drink, maybe you can take a 15 ml drink or a 20 ml drink. You can do that, but not more than 30 mg. Then lodging an FIR if something has happened and you want to go to the police station, get an FIR lodged, that's your legal right. Nobody can refuse to do that. If a police officer refuses to do that, you can directly write to the SP or the superintendent of police, or you can write to the commissioner of police as well and let them know that something like this has happened. And this particular police officer who refuses to lodge an FIR can also be imprisoned for up to 1 year, from 6 months to 1 year. That's the simple imprisonment that he or she can also get. So if somebody refuses to lodge your FIR, no matter how trivial it is, no matter how trivial an issue is, you can always question them and tell them that this is important. And also, whenever there's an FIR that has been lodged, they will have to give you a copy of your FIR as well. That will be a proof that you've lodged a complaint, so that they don't come back and they tell you that you didn't visit us or there was no FIR that has been lodged. They can very well do it, we all know. So make sure that you take your copy of the FIR as well. Now, the fourth one, very, very important, guys. You must have seen that whenever you want to use the washrooms of hotels, and if you're not buying something from them, they stop you from doing that. So legally, they can't stop you from using their washrooms. Even if it is a 5-star or 7-star hotel, they just can't stop you, and they can't force you to buy something from them. This is also for drinking water. If you want to drink water but you don't take that bottled water, just the regular tap water, if you want that, they can't charge you for it as well, and you can take that particular water as well. So this is your legal right. If they stop you from doing it, you can always question them and you can let them know that, hey, you can't stop me and this is my legal right. So but you should know about it. So this is something which is very, very important. At least in India, I have seen that majority, at least 50 or 60% of the establishments would stop you, or they'll just give you those looks that you're not welcomed here. Doesn't matter, this is your legal right. You can absolutely use their washrooms if you want to. Then for your safety also, if a gas cylinder blasts and while you're cooking, or it's there in your establishment, whether commercial or your personal establishment, if there's a blast that happens because of the gas cylinder, the victim or their family gets a compensation. They're liable to be paid a compensation of 50 lakh rupees by the gas agency. You will just have to go to the police station, lodge a complaint. There will be an inquiry, and then if everything is proved, they will have to give you this compensation. And this is standard for all over India. And finally, I think majority of us don't know this, but if you've been fined for something in one particular day, then they cannot, fine you again for the same thing the same day. For example, if you are riding a two-wheeler and you don't have a helmet and you've already been challaned for that, they can't, fine you again the same day for not wearing a helmet. You can show them that challan receipt that you have, and you can tell them that I've been already been fined for it, so they can't harass you. So you can let them know. But this doesn't come for grave crimes like say theft, for example. So a thief cannot say that, hey, मैंने तो एक ही दिन में 5 घर में चोरी की, तो मुझे एक ही घर के लिए पनिश करना है. That cannot happen. So that won't happen. Okay. This is for very trivial issues like Motor Vehicle Act and all of those things. So that's another thing that you can look at. Also, something that I have not mentioned here, but something that all of us should know is that hotels and restaurants and cafes and lounges, they can't charge service tax from us. That has been abolished by the government after the introduction of GST. So they can't charge service tax from us. If they, and majority of them will put it in the bill. So if they've charged you for that, you can let them know that I don't want to pay it, and they will have to deduct it. If they don't do it, and you don't have another option, but you'll have to clear the bill. If a situation like that comes up, keep the copy of the bill with you. Lodge a complaint in the nearest consumer forum to your place or to that hotel's place. Lodge a complaint in the consumer forum. And we have seen hotels being fined something as minimum of as 25,000 to maximum of 2 lakhs and 3 lakhs also, just for charging a service tax of maybe 400 rupees or 500 rupees depending on the value of your bill. But you can always question them and you can tell them that you can't charge us, you can't take service tax from us. Okay, so how many of you knew all of these rights, and how many of you knew just few and not all of these? And before that, yeah, let's talk about this analogy as well. Tariq pe tariq sabne suna hoga. So why tariq pe tariq? That's because the number one reason and the practical reason is that our courts are understaffed. Even though there are a lot of judicial exams which happen, sometimes the results are delayed. Sometimes there's a re-examination which happens. So they're really understaffed, and we need a lot of judges to join us in different courts. So that's one reason. The second reason is that we're talking about somebody's life, somebody's reputation here. So whenever there's something like that which is in the picture, whether it is a property dispute which is happening or whether it's a criminal offense which is happening, so whenever there's something like that, there has to be there's a very set and very detailed procedure that you will have to follow. So because of that procedure also, it takes a lot of time. You will have to follow all you will have to follow the procedures in detail. You will have to ensure that you don't miss out on any of the step, because if you do, the any either of the party can come and question you that okay, this particular step has not happened, and then that makes the entire proceeding as illegal. So it's very very procedural, whether we're talking about civil side of the space or whether we're talking about the criminal side of the space. That is why it takes a lot of time to solve these cases. But now there have been a lot of initiatives which have been taken. There are a lot of urgent listings which happen, and then there are a lot of fast track cases as well and courts as well, which only take about 2 or 3 months to give their decision on a particular case, but that depends on in the fast track court or not. Absolutely depends on the parameters of that particular case. So yeah, so that's about it. And historically speaking as well, from when from the time from the Vedic age till about talking about the kings, that we've had different dynasties and different ruling families that we've had till the British, and then post that we've always, as a country, we've always had a policy which has driven us, and we've been governed by that. There have been a lot of public policies, a lot of courts which have been in the picture. So for example, during the time of kings, you must have seen that they would also have their council of ministers. So they would have separate minister for treasury, there would be a separate minister for finance, then there would be a separate minister that would only look at the criminal side of the space. So every minister would have different portfolio that they manage. So fast forwarding it to the present time, today also the prime minister has a council of ministers who look at different portfolios. So like we have a separate ministry for finance, there's home affairs ministry, then there's travel aviation ministry. So different portfolios for different ministers, and then they have another administrative arm below them. So all these UPSC officers, or the civil servants, all of these guys, whether, so if there's an IAS officer, they would become a DC of a state or of a city, and then they would have their own roles and their own regulations that they would follow. There are IRS officers as well, who would look at the treasury, the revenue, where's the revenue for the government coming from, how are the taxes being utilized, all of those things. So they have those administrative arms below them, and those administrative arms are the guys who formulate the policies, who formulate the laws. And different ministry would have different set of administrative people who would help them. And just like the constitution, there are separate laws for separate industries. So banks will have their own banking laws, insurance industry will have their own insurance industry laws, taxation is another subject on its own, then property law is another subject on its own. State wise also there is little bifurcation which keeps on happening on these rules and these laws. So like that, it's a very, very detailed subject to look at, and that is why 5 years or 3 years you give your heart and soul to it, and that's how you really get a grip of this particular subject. So it's going to even when you've passed out from your degree, and then whatever area you choose, you will learn so much around it every day, because with changing times, laws keep on changing, there are amendments that keep on happening. For example, whenever there's a crime which happens, so if there's a robbery which happens during the day, and then there's a robbery which happens in the evening, or after sunset, the punishment for both of them is different. So that's how detailed it is. So you will have to know what section to look at, what clause to look at. You will really have to memorize a lot of things. You can always take help from the books. If you're a practicing lawyer, you can absolutely take help from the books. If you're studying or you're preparing for your exams or any competitive exams, you will obviously have to learn all of these things. But by the time you appear for the competitive exams, you would have interned so much, you would have read about it so much कि वो आपको याद ही हो जाएगा. You will not take a lot of time there. So yeah, so I've really cut it short, this particular section. It is actually a very detailed section, but I've cut it short. So what I've been trying to portray from this section is that since before the British, we've always had very detailed, and we've always had a policy by which the government has been governed in India. And even after the British, during the British, there have been courts, There have been, maybe not as structured as today, but there have been governments, there have been ministries, and there have been people who've been managing those portfolios. Because for just the kings, or maybe just the rulers, or just the monarchies, it's not going to be possible. It's a one man army is a myth. There's nothing called like a one man army. Everybody would need different people to support them, and that's how together you will be able to grow forward. So it has been since ages, and that's how we've now grown on the legal front as well, historically looking at things.